Burnley, Liverpool barely getting the victory. I have to look at Liverpool right now, and I'm having doubts that I wouldn't have expected to have. Their performances have not been outstanding. They've not been impressive. We see Florian Wirtz struggling to impose himself on games. Mo Salah looks a shadow of himself. Liverpool will improve, and I expect that they'll start to find their form, and when they do, we know how formidable they can be, particularly with Isak coming in. I really do think they need some fresh ideas up top. It appears that they won't be able to rely on the Mo Salah heroics for the season, so they're going to need production from other players. Isak, of course, we have to see how he's integrated, but I think the gap between them and other teams has closed, and they're starting to wake up to that reality. We're going to need to see more from Liverpool.
Yeah, I agree. I think Liverpool, when you compare them to an Arsenal, the depth is not quite at the same level. And when you have a player like Florian Wirtz who's not playing well, there's no one to come in off the bench and compete with him to make him raise his level. When Isak comes in and Ekitike starts competing with Gakpo on the left, maybe that will start to raise the level of the training sessions and might kickstart what has been a stuttering offense so far this season. One thing I will say is we've seen Arsenal struggle against teams who park the bus, and Liverpool struggled a little bit with that this past weekend. But we do see Arne Slot being a progressive manager, a manager who's willing to take risks within the game, make changes. What will need to happen for them to be dethroned, we'll need a team like Arsenal to go and try to beat Liverpool, not try not to lose against Liverpool. We need to see the top teams try to beat Liverpool because it appears that they can be beaten this season.
You mentioned Arsenal, and they put in a stellar performance, 3 victory against Nottingham Forest, who verdicts will be out on Forest for a little while with a new manager, obviously not being able to impress his ideas on the club, and we know that because they were defending. So Postecoglou hasn't gotten his palms on the team yet. But Arteta started Eze, which I was happy to see. We saw his quality in the final third be decisive. The only concern Arteta should have right now is what to do when Saka and Saliba come back. Because both Madueke and Mosquera, who have come in, have been incredible. Madueke in particular has been outstanding, brave, direct, and has really been the standout player for Arsenal so far. If I'm Saka, I'm rushing myself back because he may not be a guaranteed starter. And that's crazy to think. Mosquera's come in, he's shown versatility to his game. Not only is he composed defending, but his distribution has been impressive. Looking to initiate offense, spraying 30, 40-yard diagonal balls to get Arsenal's offense started. He's looked like he's been playing for Arsenal for years. Both of them have done an incredible job, and I think that creates a good headache for Arteta in terms of his selection.
Yeah, talk about a selection headache. Arteta is in the position he wanted to be in all along. Now he has the best squad in the Premier League. You said it about Mosquera. I am incredibly impressed. Madueke as well, fantastic. I don't know what Arteta will do, and I think this is going to be the advantage for Arsenal. When teams line up and start preparing, they don't know if they're going to prepare for Saka, Madueke. Will it be Nwaneri who came in for Odegaard? So when you can keep other teams guessing about what your tactics will be, what players will be on the pitch, this is the type of recipe that spells disaster for other teams. And I think if Arteta gets it right with his rotation and his strategy, it's really up to them if they want to win the league. And it's up to Arteta to make sure that this team lives up to its potential this season. This has to be the season for Arsenal.
Tottenham. I think Tottenham are back. They're back in business. Thomas Frank, great job. Stabilized the team. And I look at Tottenham and I see depth, quality all across the board. I mean, offensively, you might question if Romero and Van der Ben get injured, do they have the same quality off the bench? But the only question mark I really have for Tottenham is up top. Richarlison is a bit temperamental, both in attitude and production. Quality player, but a bit volatile. Solanke's injury prone, it seems. And Tell, I'm not convinced by. But the rest of the team, I have to say, the midfield, and I'm particularly impressed with Bergvall. I think he's developing into a top-class midfielder. Great engine, very composed on the ball, good distribution, gets his goals as well. Mohamed Kudus, I think he's a fantastic player, hardworking, skillful. He can do it all on the pitch. Kudus, I think, is really the player that has elevated Tottenham into the conversation, because I think what he brings to the team is so expansive. They're just a better team with him on the pitch.
I agree about Kudos. The other player who I think they brought in who's made a big difference is João Palhinha. He's the fulcrum of the team. He's great at tackling, warding off opposition attacks. With him, in combination with Popsar or Bentancur, the middle of the park for Tottenham is one that can dominate. From a coaching perspective, Tottenham, they've hit the nail on the head, and they brought in the right manager. A manager who brings structure, who thinks about defense first, but not overly defensive, and has the right balance across the team. So I think Thomas Frank, there was a question around him going to a big club. Could he handle it? Right now, it appears that he's tailor-made for this type of job. So the other fixture from the big clubs was Chelsea away at Brentford. 2-2 draw. The good news for them is that Cole Palmer was able to come into the game in the second half and ended up scoring a goal. For Chelsea, what we're seeing now is the rise of Caicedo coming to be a potentially world-class player. His ability to time his tackles, to be in the right place at the right time, his willingness to go forward when the team needs to try to get either a tying goal or a go-ahead goal, which he was able to do and score against Brentford. I think he's becoming a world-class player. Not quite there yet, but on his way. And if they continue to ride him and Cole Palmer gets back in form, I wouldn't say sky's the limit for Chelsea, but certainly they can do well. The problem for them is the number 9 position. They let Nico Jackson go. For some reason, they saw Liam Delap as a significantly better player, and we see Tyreek George coming in, a young player, decent quality, but still has a lot to learn. Mark Guiu is not going to be able to provide what they need with Liam Delap out until the November timeframe. I think we might see a little bit too much pressure on João Pedro, and he could tire. The other player who stuck out to me was Jeremy Gittins. Doesn't look ready for this level. I see Alejandro Garnacho taking that spot on the left, competing with Pedro Neto and Esteval. I think they have enough on the flanks, Gittins excluded from that, but the central area from an attacking perspective will be a problem for Chelsea if there is an injury to either João Pedro and Cole Palmer.
My question for Chelsea, and has been the same question I've had the last few seasons, is defensively. I still think the pairing of Tosin and Chalobah is lacking in experience and also in leadership. We have Reece James, the leader of the team, hardly ever plays. Fofana back in action. I'm happy to see him back. Good players. There's depth there. I'm just looking for a little bit of leadership from that back line. I don't know where it's coming from. That's the only question I have for Chelsea.